Most people looking at XRP today are making one fundamental mistake. They are measuring a technology designed for the next 50 years using a mental framework built for the last 50. Market cap comparisons, historical price charts, comparisons to existing financial assets. All of it misses the actual question, which is not what XRP is worth today, but what XRP is worth when the infrastructure it was built for is fully operational. Today, we are going to break down exactly why that question has a much larger answer than most people are ready to accept, and why the signals pointing toward it are already visible right now. This is XRP Verified. Let us get into it. Let us start with the market cap objection, because it is the most common reason people dismiss XRP at institutional scale. The argument goes, the market cap required for XRP to reach high prices would be larger than anything that has ever existed. Therefore, it cannot happen. Here is why that argument fails. 10 years ago, if you told someone a single company could be worth $3 trillion, they would have called you irrational. Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia are all above $2 trillion today. The reason most people could not have predicted that number is that they were modeling future growth using the economic framework of the past. They were not accounting for the compounding effects of new technologies removing friction from the global economy. AI alone is projected to add tens of trillions in global GDP by removing inefficiencies that have existed for decades. Blockchain settlement running 24/7 removes the friction cost from the entire global financial system, which processes quadrillions of dollars annually. When you remove friction from a system that large, the value that gets unlocked is not incremental, it is exponential. Brad Garlinghouse said it directly. Most people significantly overestimate what can happen in 12 months and dramatically underestimate what can happen in a decade. That framing is the correct lens for XRP. Now let us add the dimension that almost no one is discussing seriously. Because most financial analysis is still operating entirely within the boundaries of the current Earth-based economy. The AI agent economy is coming. AI agents will need to transact. They cannot open bank accounts. They cannot use Swift. They cannot wait 3 to 5 days for cross-border settlement. They need payment infrastructure that is programmable, instant, and operates without human intermediaries. Blockchain rails are the only infrastructure that fits that requirement. And imagine trying to process a 30-cent AI-to-AI micropayment on legacy correspondent banking rails. The fees alone would exceed the transaction value. XRP settles in under 5 seconds for fractions of a cent. It is the only asset in the current market that is technically and economically suited for micropayment settlement at AI scale. And as the AI economy grows, the volume of transactions requiring that infrastructure does not grow linearly. It explodes. Every new AI agent spawned is a new participant in an economy that needs settlement rails. The addressable market for XRP in an AI-powered economy is not $9.6 trillion per day in FX volume. It is every transaction every AI agent ever makes, globally, in perpetuity. Beyond the AI economy, there is a conversation happening at the frontier of technology that sounds speculative today, but follows the same logical trajectory as every major technological shift in history. Space colonization. If humanity establishes permanent settlements on the Moon and Mars within the next decade, and the engineering and investment already committed by private space companies makes that a realistic timeline, those settlements will have their own economies, their own GDP, their own output, and they will need to transact with Earth. You cannot process an interplanetary payment through Swift. The latency alone makes it impossible. You need a neutral digital asset that does not belong to any single government, settles with finality, operates without intermediaries, and can function across any network. XRP was designed as a neutral bridge currency that no single entity controls. That design was made for cross-border settlement between countries on Earth, but the architecture is identical to what interplanetary commerce would require. When analysts say XRP's market cap ceiling is defined by today's financial system, they are drawing the boundary in the wrong place. The boundary is not the current financial system. The boundary is every economic system that will ever exist on any network that needs a neutral settlement layer. Now let us come back to the near-term confirmed reality, because the long-term vision is only credible when the near-term fundamentals support it. And they do. Brad Garlinghouse confirmed this year that Ripple Treasury, through its G-Treasury acquisition, now orchestrates $13 trillion in annual payments. 0% of that currently flows through crypto rails or stablecoins. That is the near-term opportunity sitting directly inside Ripple's own existing customer base. He went further and said that within 5 years, he expects 30% of that $13 trillion to be moving on-chain in some form. That is approximately $4 trillion in payment volume migrating onto XRP rails from a single Ripple product line. Stuart Alderodi described Ripple's current positioning in one phrase: one-stop shop. Payments, custody, tokenization, liquidity, treasury management, all from a single provider. Every enterprise that comes to Ripple for any one of those services becomes a potential on-ramp for XRP and RLUSD volume. The real-world asset data on the XRP ledger is confirming that institutional migration is already accelerating. The XRP ledger currently holds $4.8 billion in tokenized real-world assets, growing 246% year over year, while Algorand dropped 79% and Aptos collapsed 41% in the same category. Ethereum is losing real-world asset market share. The XRP ledger is gaining it. At this trajectory, the XRP ledger closing the gap to Ethereum's real-world asset position is a matter of time, not possibility. And when institutional participants are comparing blockchains for real-world asset deployment, the compliance architecture, settlement finality, and transaction cost structure of the XRP ledger consistently matches or exceeds what institutional requirements demand. The government and central bank signal is also building in ways that confirm institutional confidence is not just retail speculation. The Bank of England ran a proof of concept using Ripple technology. The Reserve Bank of Australia validated RLUSD for sovereign debt settlement through Project Acacia. JP Morgan and MasterCard completed the first ever cross-border, cross-bank settlement of tokenized US Treasuries on the XRP ledger in under 5 seconds. Ripple has been in the US-UK transatlantic financial infrastructure meetings. Ripple has been present at White House discussions around the Clarity Act and the Federal Reserve's own Faster Payments Task Force, which laid the groundwork for the current U.S. payment system, included Ripple on its steering committee and positively evaluated its cross-border solution in their official final report. These are not coincidences. They are a documented pattern of the same organization showing up in every room where the future of financial infrastructure is being designed. The next phase of crypto is utility, and every serious voice in institutional finance is saying it. Circle's CEO called for the next age of crypto to be defined by real use cases that matter to people in their daily lives. Institutional tokenized securities, retail payment efficiency, AI agent commerce, cross-border remittance, treasury management at corporate scale. These are the use cases that have been building on the XRP ledger for years, while the broader market was focused on speculation. And when those use cases reach operating scale, the price discovery process for XRP will not be driven by retail sentiment or technical chart patterns. It will be driven by the mathematical requirement to hold sufficient XRP to execute the volume flowing through those rails. That is a demand curve that is structural and permanent, not cyclical and speculative. Let me bring all of this together clearly. The market cap objection fails because it uses a current state economic framework to measure a future state infrastructure technology. The AI agent economy requires blockchain payment rails, and XRP is the only asset technically and economically suited for micropayment settlement at that scale. Space colonization, on a realistic 10-year timeline, creates a demand for neutral interplanetary settlement infrastructure that XRP's architecture already satisfies. Ripple Treasury has $13 trillion in existing payment flow, with 30% expected on-chain within 5 years. Real-world assets on the XRP ledger are growing 246% annually, while competing networks lose ground. Central banks, Wall Street firms, and government financial infrastructure bodies have all formally engaged with Ripple technology on the public record. And the next phase of crypto, as defined by the CEOs of the largest stablecoin issuers, is utility. XRP was built for exactly that phase. The people watching price charts are measuring the wrong thing. The people watching infrastructure are watching the right thing. Stay informed, stay patient, stay positioned. If this video gave you real value today, subscribe to XRP Verified. I will see you in the next one.